Hey folks, I talk a lot about the fact that I have multiple sclerosis, or MS. I've had it for about a decade. I also talk a lot about the fact that I've kept it in remission since 2017, so nearly 6 years. And after getting an overwhelming number of responses from people like you asking how I have put my MS in remission and gotten better, I've decided to make a detailed video about it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share everything that I'm doing. But first, if you're watching this, it's probably because you or someone you care about is facing multiple sclerosis. And I want to let you know right now that your life can be better in the future than it has ever been, even before you started dealing with MS. I want to be clear, MS is the end of your life as you knew it. Now you can choose to make that the best thing that has ever happened to you. MS for me was a wake-up call to take my health seriously. More importantly, it was a wake-up call to live my life purposefully. Now, here's a little bit of background about me, and if you want to skip this part and go straight to what I've done to beat MS, we have the timestamps in the captions, but this part may be helpful to you as well. Anyway, so my entire adult life, I'd never taken my health seriously. I'm a recovering drug addict. I've been clean since 2006, but I still ate whatever I wanted. I rarely did any exercise, and I was a severe workaholic. I had a successful business and a lovely wife who I still have today, thank God. But I was overweight, my stress was through the roof, my health was deteriorating, and my life felt empty and unfulfilled. Starting around 2011, I began to feel like something was off. Couldn't even describe it fully, but I would randomly feel woozy. I'd get weird sensations. Sometimes I'd sleep for days on end. I went to doctors multiple times and was told that it was probably just anxiety. You've probably been told that too. But I knew the difference between anxiety and whatever this was. This all came to a head in 2014 when I had my first confirmed MS flare, and the right side of my body went almost completely numb. But they weren't ready to officially diagnose me yet, so for 2 years I lived in this kind of MS purgatory, which were, looking back, the worst years of my life. Even though I'd only had one attack, I lived in utter dread. Would I have another flare? Do I really have MS? What will my life look like? I was absolutely miserable. Now fast forward to the summer of 2016 when I had my second confirmed flare-up, followed by a third one within a matter of weeks. By the end of the year, I was officially diagnosed with MS. And honestly, at this point, the diagnosis itself was a relief. I knew what this was finally, and I was ready to look at available treatments. My neurologist explained to me that the goal of my MS treatment was to slow down the progression of my MS so that it wasn't much different than the typical aging process. That was supposed to make me feel better, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized in that moment that it didn't matter whether or not I had MS. It didn't matter if I was in perfect health. We are all eventually not going to be here. And if I didn't start taking my health seriously, if I didn't start taking my life seriously, I would continue to be miserable. So I spent most of 2017 learning how to relive almost every aspect of my life. Even as my MS continued to worsen, I focused on diet, exercise, supplementation, medical treatment, stress reduction, purposeful living, all sorts of stuff. And thanks to the things I've done, not only is my MS in remission, I'm the happiest and healthiest that I've ever been. So what have I done? Well, let's get into it. Big disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am merely a Jew on the internet telling you what has worked for me. Find someone who is not on the internet and, most importantly, is a doctor, and ask them about any major changes to your lifestyle before making them. Do not take medical advice solely from a stranger on YouTube. Please, for the love of God, thank you. Now, with that said, let's start with number 1, diet. The diet I eat is a hybrid of the Wahls protocol and overcoming MS. These are two evidence-based diets that were created specifically for people with MS, although they're probably good for anyone. Now, both Wahls and OMS have helped many people to slow, stop, and sometimes even reverse MS progression. I originally tried just the Wahls protocol, but I personally wasn't getting the results I was hoping for, so after doing more research and finding out about overcoming MS, I decided to merge them into one by restricting myself from anything that either of them doesn't allow. So I don't eat any meat, I don't eat any dairy, any gluten, any eggs, any seed oils, refined sugars, or processed foods, and I have very little, almost no grains. I do eat as much seafood as I want, especially salmon, especially smoked salmon. I also eat 6 to 10 cups of vegetables and fruit, which I try to split up evenly into 3 different categories. Leafy greens like spinach and cabbage, deeply colored fruits and vegetables like blueberries and carrots, and sulfuric vegetables like mushrooms and eggplant. I can also eat nuts, seeds, and legumes, and every day I try to get a little bit of fermented vegetables, sea vegetables like kelp and seaweed, and fish collagen in the form of salmon bone broth powder. When I'm home, I have a tablespoon or 2 a day of cold-pressed flax oil, which in at least one study of people with MS showed a reduction in MS progression, but it's hard to find that when I'm traveling. So yeah, it's a pretty intense diet, but it's more than worth it. Oh, and as a side effect of that diet, within the first year of switching to it, I lost nearly 100 pounds, got down to my ideal weight, which I've been able to keep and maintain, and all of my vitals have gotten better. My cholesterol, my blood pressure, heart rate, all that stuff. That brings us to number 2, supplementation. Another big disclaimer: I am not a doctor. I have never been a doctor. I do not plan to be a doctor in the future. Please talk to someone who is, was, and will be in the future a doctor before putting supplements in your mouth or anywhere else for that matter. Now, here's what I take personally, and this is for me personally. I take daily supplements of 3,000 micrograms of vitamin B12, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 10,000 IUs or international units of vitamin D3, 120 micrograms of vitamin K2, 10 milligrams of L-methylfolate, 1,200 milligrams of N-acetylcysteine, 600 milligrams of N-acetylglucosamine, 1,200 milligrams of lion's mane, and 50 milligrams of zinc. Now, in particular, vitamins D3, B12, and N-acetylglucosamine have been shown in multiple studies to help people with MS in various ways. Now, when you go to your doctor, they'll probably want to test your blood levels as well before telling you which of these you should take, or maybe some other ones you may need. So again, go to a doctor first. Number 3. Exercise. Yes, I knew you were hoping you wouldn't have to get up off the couch at any point. And in fact, for many years, people with MS were actually told to avoid exercise and to focus on bed rest in order to avoid discomfort and to conserve their energy. And yet, for some reason that no one could quite understand, these people would suffer from muscle atrophy, weight gain, increased depression, decreased mobility and range of motion, early death, and many other things that, oddly enough, are associated with an overly sedentary lifestyle. I guess we'll never solve the absolute mind-boggler of how recommending that people stop doing anything and stay in bed for the rest of their lives would lead them to become weak, fat, sad, and bedridden. I guess it'll just remain one of life's mysteries. Anyway, nowadays there are a metric study ton of studies which show that regular exercise helps not only to alleviate MS symptoms, but also to potentially slow progression of the disease itself. And of course, regular exercise in any person has been well known and established long before any of us were born to increase strength, reduce body fat, increase range of motion and mobility, and often to reduce depression, which leads many Jews who make YouTube videos to wonder why medical professionals wouldn't have recommended that to begin with. Now here's the thing. Regular exercise is a highly subjective term, and what it means for you will rely on a wide variety of things like your age, your overall health, your level of disability, and much more. So if you have any doubts as to what you should or should not be doing, ask your doctor. Now, I personally do at least an hour a day of moderate exercise. Fun stuff like swimming, walking, weightlifting, salsa dancing, axe throwing, running up hills that I accidentally set on fire because the event organizer had me shoot a round of dragon's breath and told me to aim higher. So I did, and I didn't know what the hell dragon's breath was, much less that it was some kind of Roman candle from hell that can set entire hills on fire. I also do about 20 minutes or so of various stretches that my physical therapist has recommended to help me with some of the symptoms that I deal with. In fact, if MS is acutely affecting certain parts of your body, talk with your doctor or a physical or occupational therapist about specific exercises that may help with those issues. They've been a real lifesaver for me. Number 4, sun exposure. The Overcoming MS program recommends that you get sun exposure on as much of your body as possible for about 20 minutes or so. You're not trying to get tanned necessarily, just enough sun to activate your body's production of vitamin D. Regular sun exposure also appears to help with immunomodulation, formation of nitric oxide, melatonin production, serotonin production, and even helps reset your circadian clocks. Studies have shown that it can not only help with MS, but many other chronic and life-threatening illnesses. It also appears to help improve mood. It definitely improves mine. We weren't built to be indoors and away from the sun as often as we are, so get out there and enjoy yourself. Disclaimer, if you have any condition that makes regular sun exposure a bad idea, please do not get regular sun exposure. Ask your doctor about the sun. I am not a doctor. Number 5, mental and emotional wellness. Getting yourself into a good place mentally and emotionally and learning how to handle stressful situations like these help tremendously with calming symptoms caused by neurological diseases like MS. It may even help to slow its progression. Now, before I start on this, if you are in a severely bad or fragile emotional state, seek a mental health professional. There's no need to go this alone. Now, for me, there are many things I've done on this front, which you can research further for yourselves. The main ones that I use are mindfulness, rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, Stoicism, Taoism, and active gratitude. Now, there are a ton of resources online about all of these things, and frankly, going over all of them would take hours, but to give you something to start with, here are some of the things I do. Now, some of these might seem silly at first, but they are very easy and very powerful ways to help reprogram your brain to be more grateful and to make you feel more happy. It works amazingly for me. I hope it does for you. So here's the first thing. Every day, write down in a journal or enter into a journal app or text app on your phone. Write down at least 3 things that happened that day that you were grateful about. If you can think of more than 3 things, that's great. Write them all down. But look for at least 3 things, no matter how big or small, and be sure to note them. Number 2, thank at least one person every day. One person at least, for something they've done or just something about them that makes you grateful. Number 3, whenever something negative happens, before you react to it, take a moment or two to consider if there is anything to be grateful about in this situation, even if it's just something constructive you can learn from it. This isn't about being in denial about bad things happening, but about training your brain to find the positive and constructive parts of even the worst situations. Number 4, whenever you're about to do something or go through something that you're nervous about, write down or note whatever the bad outcome is that you fear will happen. And then after you're done doing that thing, note whether or not that bad thing happened. More often than not, our bad predictions will turn out to be completely unfounded, and it's important to note that so we realize how irrational our fears often are. Number 5, whenever you have any kind of anxiety attack or even just a kind of really negative feeling, take a moment to relax your muscles, starting with your forehead, your eyebrows, your cheeks, and so on, moving all the way down to your toes. Now, the first couple of times you do this might be pretty uncomfortable, but over time it'll become so easy that you'll be able to stop panic attacks in their tracks just by doing a little bit of muscle relaxation. Number 6, another thing to do during any kind of anxiety attack or bad feeling is to breathe in through your nose for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and then breathe out slowly for 10 seconds. Now, as you're doing this, note any thoughts or feelings you're having while this is happening. Welcome those thoughts and feelings to be there, but let yourself know that you're choosing to remain focused on breathing in for 5 seconds, holding it for 5 seconds, and breathing out for 10 seconds. Do this over and over again, and as the panic and negative feelings begin to subside, tell yourself how proud you are that you're able to overcome moments like these and remain focused on the breathing until the panic and bad feelings are subsided. This will get easier over time, and it is an incredible tool. Number 7, take your diet seriously. At the very least, try to avoid too much grains, too much processed foods, and refined sugar as much as possible. When we eat too much of these kinds of foods, they cause our blood glucose to surge, followed by a crash. And those contribute to worsening of anxiety and depression. By focusing more on healthier, low-carb foods, we keep our blood sugar more steady, and that helps us with our mood. And finally, number 8, whenever someone says or does something that causes you to have a negative reaction, before you react, take a moment to consider what is causing you to react that way. Then consider some constructive ways of dealing with that. Now, the most constructive way of dealing with it might just be disengaging from that person and not reacting at all. But look for the most constructive way and do that. There are many more things that you can do, but these are my favorite go-tos. Feel free to research mindfulness, rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, Stoicism, Taoism, and active gratitude to find out more about how they work and how you can use them. Number 6, medical treatment. Now look, we are now literally talking about drugs. Very, very serious drugs. And you can't even get these drugs without a prescription from a doctor anyway. So even if you didn't want to talk to a doctor about drugs, which you absolutely should talk to a doctor about drugs, you'd still have to talk to a doctor about these drugs. So talk to a doctor about these drugs. Medical innovations in MS have come an incredibly long way in the past 20 years. Back in the day, if you were diagnosed with MS, for the most part, all they'd do is send you home and tell you to stay in bed so your muscles could deteriorate. You could live in misery and die an early death. But now there are these drugs called disease-modifying treatments, or DMTs, that effectively halt the progression of MS for many patients. Now, you may be able to treat your MS without a DMT, but they are definitely worth considering, especially if you have an aggressive case like I did. I personally use a DMT. It's called Tysabri. It's been around since 2005. I started taking it in 2017. I personally have no side effects. I just get an infusion every month and haven't had a relapse since I started. There are other very effective treatments such as Ocrevus, Tecfidera, Gilenya, and many others. And if you need a DMT, your doctor will use many factors to determine which one is best for you. Things like your disease progression, other drugs you may be taking, whether or not you have the JC virus, and many other things. The goal of a DMT is to find something that fits with your lifestyle, has little to no side effects, and is effective in slowing or stopping your MS progression as you use the other practices we talked about to further slow progression and heal from the existing damage. And now I've left my favorite part for last. Here is what I believe to be the most important part of all of this. It won't just help with your MS, it will make your life much more fulfilling. Number 7, purposeful living. People who discover their purpose and live in that purpose tend to live longer, have better mental health, healthier hearts, better immune systems, and a whole host of other health benefits. If you have a chronic illness like MS, purposeful living is even more important. Now for me, this was a game changer. It didn't just help my quality of life, it helped make my life worth living. Now, there are countless articles, videos, books, and honestly, entire industries that are built around helping people who are trying to find purpose in their lives. And I strongly encourage you to do as much research as you can into purposeful living to see your best path for discovering your purpose for yourself. Now, personally, it took the better part of a year of very focused work to find my purpose. Here's some of what I did. If any of this sounds good to you, feel free to try it for yourself. First, work to discover yourself by asking yourself these questions. What do you care about? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What are you not good at or just don't like to do? What are your values and beliefs? Write the answers to these questions out. They'll help you to write a vision statement for yourself, which you can use to help find your purpose and ground yourself in it whenever you find yourself going astray. The next thing is to practice active gratitude. This is what we were talking about before, writing down 3 things, everything that you're grateful for, contacting people and telling them that you're grateful to have them in your life. Having a mindset of gratitude will put you in the right mindset to discover your purpose. Next, surround yourself with people you want to be like. People whose values, vision, and life inspire you. People whose character you admire. Let me put it this way. Do you want to spend your time with people you trust, who uplift you and inspire you and motivate you to do great things? Or people you distrust, who bring you down and make you feel like nothing's going to get better? Well, there you go. Now, obviously, you can't systematically remove every single person from your life who isn't ideal and replace them only with completely trustworthy, supportive, and inspirational people. But you can certainly cut out the most toxic and demotivating people and seek out people of good character to replace them. Another important thing is to never stop actively seeking knowledge, especially on the things that interest you. The more you know about something, the more opportunities you'll likely find that you can involve yourself in, and the more you'll be able to contribute to it with your knowledge of it. Now, there are, of course, an endless source of ways to learn about things you care about thanks to the internet. Now, if I had a sponsorship for one of those learning subscription services, I could put it here, but I don't. And honestly, I don't personally use any of them anyway. I do most of my learning by getting as close to the source of information as possible. Scientific studies, books and audiobooks, interviews and long-form videos of people I'm researching, first source news articles, things like that. Finally, love yourself and care for yourself. Living purposefully doesn't mean programming yourself to do something and doing it nonstop. You're not a robot. You need to be able to enjoy life. Again, the purpose of all of this is for your life to be worth living, for you to be happy. If you are miserable and overworked, that's not exactly good for your health. So be sure to set limits and boundaries. Be willing to say no and don't overload yourself with obligations. Discover what you enjoy and take time for it. If you don't take time for yourself, you will burn out. Have fun living this life. It may seem like I'm doing nothing but working constantly, but I actually spend lots of time with my wife and my family, going to the beach, swimming, dancing, going to the zoo, all sorts of fun stuff. And I also make sure to get plenty of rest, at least 8 hours a day of sleep. That's it. Actually, one more thing. Before you get started on this journey to reclaim your health, I need you to know this is not going to fix your MS overnight. I first started working on my diet right before my diagnosis in 2016, and I continued having relapses on a regular basis. I jumped full bore into it in 2017. I still kept getting relapses. Once I started my DMT, my MRI remained stable pretty quickly, but I continued feeling worse until at least late 2018. I had gotten to my ideal weight, and I was the happiest I had ever been, and getting healthier and happier by the day, but my MS symptoms didn't feel like they were truly getting better until 2019. So when you start doing all this stuff, you're not likely to feel better overnight. It could take months. It took me years. MS is an autoimmune disorder that affects so many different parts of your body. Your body isn't working correctly right now, and it took you many years and multiple factors to get to this point. You're not going to stop MS in its tracks instantly, but if you keep at it, you can feel better. Oh, and one last thing. I promise this is the last thing. Your body is an incredible machine. It wants to heal, but right now it thinks it's healing by attacking itself. That's what autoimmunity is. The goal of your MS journey is to work to reset your body so that it goes back to healing correctly. MS is a very scary thing to deal with, but it's really just your body incorrectly trying to help. All of the things I do, the diet, exercise, medical treatment, I'm not doing these things to fight my body. I'm grateful for my body, and I'm grateful that it's trying to help me. It just needs some guidance and direction to do it the right way, and that's what I'm doing. You can do it too. As I said in the beginning, if you're watching this, it's probably because either you or someone you care about is facing this very serious condition. When I was at the moment that you're in right now, I was horrified. I thought my life was over. I am now the healthiest, happiest, and most fulfilled that I've ever been in my entire life, and every day just gets better. It can get better for you too. You are not this disease. You are not a graveyard of your past health problems. Our bodies have an incredible ability to heal when we treat them the way they need to be treated. But more importantly, you are a dynamic, powerful, unique person. You are an integral part of this universe. You were designed to be in it. There will never be another you again, and you have everything inside of you to live the best life you possibly can. With the right choices and dedication to make them consistently, you can live a happier life than what even seems imaginable to you right now. You've got this. I believe in you, and I can't wait to hear about all of your successes. Now let's do it. So folks, let me know what you think. Do you have any other suggestions? Has anything here worked or not worked for you? Was I not aggressive enough in warning people that I am not, in fact, a doctor? Let's hear it in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Love y'all.